We present the news summary. Good evening. The National Assembly has suspended discussions on a bill that is intended to give more autonomy to patients who suffer from mental health illnesses. The legislation replaces an existing law that Vice President Vincent Meriton said is not totally compatible with the International Convention for People with Disabilities. The new legislation, approved by all members of the National Assembly, gives people with mental health issues the power to give instructions on how their affairs should be handled when they are unwell. It puts an end to situations where relatives of mental health patients seek court orders to force medical authorities to admit them into psychiatric ward. A witness has described seeing a car belonging to murdered radio host Marjorie Baker twice on the night she died. Christopher Jubignon has given details to the Truth Commissioners about the sightings one evening in September 1986.
Christopher Jubignon told the panel he'd been driving workers home from his father's bakery in Glassy when he spotted Miss Baker's car parked at North East Point. The brake lights, he said, were flashing intermittently.
This is Radio Seychelles.
That night, the radio presenter and mother of three was stabbed 7 times, dying in her car. Later the same evening, Mr. Jubignon said he saw her car again in a side road at Karana, reversing at speed, its headlights extinguished. He said such proficient handling meant neither Miss Baker could have been at the wheel nor Douglas Cedras, her radio colleague and ex-lover, who was jailed for life for the killing before gaining a presidential pardon. Later, the commissioners heard from Antoine Belmont, a retired police officer who'd led the murder inquiry. Recalling Mr. Cedras' police statement, he said he confessed to the killing, but had claimed he'd done it involuntarily. Also today, the panel quizzed Ramesh Naidu about his account of being politically victimised and jailed. He was confronted with evidence that he'd been sacked as a tax officer for writing bouncing cheques. He denied any link to his complaint that he'd been singled out by State House for attempting to expose a tax scandal involving Mukesh Velabji and Glennie Savvy.
The Department of Environment is asking people to refrain from feeding pigeons they see in public spaces, as feeding helps to increase their population. Conservation Officer Ashley Poutin says as time goes by, the pigeons are becoming a nuisance. He says in Victoria alone, there are more than 500 pigeons.
Our assessment has shown that there are some individuals that are feeding the pigeons, and this is an activity that we tend to discourage because this increases the probability of pigeon population to grow and for them to stay in the area as well. Probably the person or the individual feeding the pigeons are not aware of the issues or impacts pigeons are having on other establishments or buildings. So this is the reason we are now coming forward. In regards with the control of population of pigeon, we are not actively doing control program, but we are liaising with various agencies in coming up with better control measures. Hopefully it will work. We have implemented control program in the past, but due to the lack of resources we have at the ministry, we haven't been able to continue with the program. But as I've said, we are continuing the control with other agencies.
Work to demolish the annex building of the Central Bank of Seychelles started this morning. This comes after the Planning Authority gave the green light for the demolition work and issued the Central Bank with the commencement notice.
The demolition work is being carried out by Laxman Bai and Company Limited. The company was awarded the contract in mid-2020 following limited selection method in line with the procurement policy of CBS. The demolition work is expected to take around 6 weeks to be completed. To recall that the annex building of the CBS was found to be tilting in January 2018. The tilting was noticed after piling work started on the construction site where Pirates Arms used to be next to the CBS annex building. And following investigations by independent engineering firms, the CBS board took the decision to demolish the annex building in October 2018. While precautionary measures will be taken to ensure maximum safety, CBS is advising the public to take extra precaution when accessing the CBS building or using the nearby pavement.
This was the news summary. Thank you for your attention.